So this story happened about 11 years ago. I was a senior in high school at the time. But it is the single most mind-boggling thing that I've ever experienced. It is also important to note that it happened in mid-December. I'm from Iowa, and the winters here get cold at night. Like, if you get stuck outside, you will die kind of cold. That plus the snowfall makes everything dead silent. You can hear anything and everything inside the house, and even immediately outside of it. Well, me and my best friend were hanging out in the family's walkout basement, just having a boring winter night playing video games. We were also the only ones home. The reason it was just us is because my mother went from work straight to a bar to grab a few drinks with coworkers. So me and my friend thought it would be a good idea to break into the family wine and live a little. As we were sitting there opening up the first bottle, I hear the door to the garage open and slam shut. I immediately go, "Oh shit," and start looking for places to hide the bottle. My friend then says, "I thought you said your mom was supposed to be out all night." "She was," I replied. I then heard a few heavy stomps and hear my mother yell out, "Anyone home?" I yell back up the stairs, "Yup, just hanging out in the basement." I hear a few more steps move from the garage door towards the stairs, and she yells out again, "Can you come help me with something? I need you up here." I replied back while frantically trying to find a good place to hide the wine bottle. "Yep, give me just a minute." Then there was silence for about 20 seconds. "Anyone down there with you?" She yelled back in a more concerned, serious tone, in a voice that was very slightly off of my mother's. This was the first thing that told me something wasn't right. Our family never cared if anyone was over, as our house was a very open house to all family and friends. And the voice, it was just wrong. It sounded like my mother's, but it was missing something that I couldn't put my finger on. Weirded out, I replied back, "Just Colton." After I yelled that back to her, I found a good place to hide the bottle and began walking up the steps to the next level. Now, as I was walking up the steps, I couldn't help but feel the overbearing silence of the house and the slight electric twinge that something isn't right. When I got to the top of the steps, I look over to where the door to the garage is, and also the kitchen right next to it. And it's black, pitch black. All of the lights were off, and there was no moonlight shining through any windows. I walked over to the kitchen yelling out, "Mom? Where are you?" There was no reply, just silence and darkness. I feel the electric twinge turn into full needles, my adrenaline kicking in full force. I have to get out of here as fast as possible. My mother was not home. I run back down the stairs, grabbing my coat along the way. "What's wrong?" Colton says. "My mom's not home." I reply as fast as I can, looking for my truck keys. "What do you mean? You were just talking with her." I could see the confusion in his face. "There's no one home. We need to leave now." I took a few steps towards the back door that opens up to the yard. and then I see my dog shaking on the couch, and my cat growling behind it. I couldn't leave them. I just knew if we left, something would happen. "Are we leaving?" Colton says, still confused as all hell. "No, I can't leave them here alone. Something is really off. I'm gonna call my mom and figure this out." I pull up my phone and call my mom. She picks up immediately. "Hello? What's going on?" she answers. "Mom, were you just home? I heard you yelling for me from the second level, and when I went up you weren't there," I said frantically, hoping that she was playing a joke. "No, I'm just leaving the bar. I wasn't feeling very well. Are you okay? What do you mean you heard me?" I fill her in on the whole story and she rushes home. Colton and I stayed in the basement with the animals until she got home. But before she did, you could hear something upstairs. Not walking or sitting on things, but a pressure in the air. Like a black hole was slowly moving from one room to the next. And the word that I would instinctively describe it as is hungry. When she got home, you could feel the thing leave just as quick as it came. Like an overbearing predatory presence had just flown away. We still have never figured out what the hell was going on. And this is just one story of many unexplainable things that have happened to us. But this is the easiest to write down, and one that I was happy to have a witness. My mother has passed away now, and I've moved away to Arizona, but whenever I go back to Iowa and I see Colton, he still gets creeped out by what had happened, and I'll never truly know what happened. But I know that whatever it was that had my mother's voice, it was evil, and it was hungry. I was upstairs in my room one night, playing video games with the volume really loud, when I thought I heard noises coming from downstairs. I muted the TV and listened closer. Nothing. I resumed playing the game for about another hour, when I heard it again, only louder. I was sure I heard it this time, and was a little freaked out. To assure myself, I went downstairs to the basement, where I thought I had heard the noise coming from. As soon as I opened the basement door, I was hit with a cold breeze. I went downstairs and saw the window wide open. I was 100% sure I'd closed and locked all the windows in the house. I was ready to make a run for it when something stopped me. I turned around and for the first time noticed the closet door was slightly cracked open. I stood for what seemed like 30 minutes in front of that door, debating whether I should open it. I moved closer and put my hand on the doorknob. All of a sudden, I heard a creepy crackle coming from inside the closet. I've never run faster up a flight of stairs before. I locked the door and called the cops, who had an unusually fast response time. They came in and searched the house, And not even 5 minutes into their search, I heard a gunshot from downstairs. A few minutes later, they come out with a deranged-looking man, probably homeless. They put him in the back of the car and told me they had opened the door, and the man was holding a gun, shot at them and missed. He luckily missed, and the cops disarmed him and arrested him. The scariest part was how close I was to opening that door and likely being murdered. This story happened when I was a kid, but it still traumatizes me to this day. One summer evening when I was about 9 or 10, there was a bad accident about 2/10 of a mile from our farmhouse. The accident was at the corner of two roads. We lived way out in the country in the Midwest. We weren't home when it happened, but could see the aftermath later that evening. The next day, out of curiosity, I asked my mom if I could ride my bike up to the corner. She said yes, but don't go further. She was hanging laundry on the clothesline and kept an eye on me as I rode up the street. We lived in a really safe area where my brother and I rode our bikes all the time, so I wasn't scared. I get to the corner and get off my bike and start looking around at some of the leftover debris. Nothing much, but as a kid you're just curious. As I'm looking around, two creepy guys in a station wagon pull up. I felt bad vibes right away. They asked me which one of them was cuter. All I could think is to run, hop on my bike, and ride as fast as I could towards home. Fortunately, their car was facing west on a gravel road, and I was headed east on a blacktop road. So I got a little head start. As I looked back, I could see them turn around and start following me. I started screaming at the top of my lungs as I was pedaling as fast as I could. My mom saw me and started running towards me. When the car got a little ways down our road and saw my mom, they stopped, turned around again, and headed the other direction. My mom called the police, but not a lot they could do, but they did take the info. To this day, that whole incident and their faces are burned in memory. When I hear stories of little girls being abducted, I think about how that could have been me.